In 1922, a 15-year-old boy arrived for his first day of work at a small auto repair shop in Tokyo, Japan. The owner, unsure if the boy was suited for the business, instructed him to clean the workshop and care for his child. At that time, no one paid much attention or care about the boy's duties. However, they had no idea of how remarkable the path of this boy is, Soichiro Honda would take. Fast forward a few decades and Honda was competing with some of the largest car brands in the world, while also owning the largest motorbike manufacturer. This is the tale of how a poor Japanese boy went from babysitting to constructing a multi-billion-dollar brand, Honda Motors. Like and subscribe, let's get started. The story begins in 1906 in a small poverty-ridden village called Tenryu, Shizuoka, at the foot of Mount Fuji. It was there that Jeiji Honda and his wife welcomed their first son, Soichiro Honda. Soichiro's father was a local blacksmith from the village who also fixed bicycles on the side, while his mother was an accomplished weaver. Raised in difficult economic situations, Soichiro lost 5 of his siblings growing up due to health issues. When Soichiro was 8 years old, he was going about his normal routine in the neighborhood when he heard a strange rumble that grabbed his first attention. He followed the sound until he came across a big piece of strange machinery, rolling along on 4 wheels. This machine was a Ford Model T, and Soichiro was left captivated by what he just had witnessed. Quote, "It was the first car I saw. What a thrill! I could not understand how it could move under its own power. And when it had driven past me, without even thinking why, I found myself chasing it around the road as hard as I could run." Unquote. This experience left a mark in his life that would forever change the way he would engage with machines. He learned how to wet the blades of the farm machinery and repair bicycles. He was fascinated by all kinds of engines and motors. But Soichiro hated the idea of going to school, and instead of pursuing a proper education, he spent the majority of his childhood helping his father with bicycle repair business. His lack of interest in school affected his grades so terribly that he used some rubber that he found to forge his family's stamp on his grade reports. That way, his father wouldn't need to sign the paper and see his grades. Eventually, he got caught, and his father punished him by making him kneel on his knees for an entire day without lunch. In 1922, Soichiro stumbled upon an advertisement for an automobile servicing company in Tokyo called Art Shokai. He believed that since the company was renowned for its motor car services, they might require new workers. He wrote a letter to Art Shokai inquiring about a job and fortunately received a positive response. At the age of 15, Soichiro decided to drop out of school, leave home, and head to Tokyo to pursue his dreams. When Soichiro arrived in Tokyo in 1922, he was amazed by how fast-paced and different it was compared to the village he came from. The owner of the automobile servicing company Art Shokai, Yuzo Sakakibara, had a job prepared for him, babysitting his child. Soichiro was disappointed to find out that he wasn't making any money and was only assigned to carry the baby on his back. However, he stayed because he didn't want to return home as a failure and face his parents. Eventually, the owner pulled Soichiro into the business due to the high demand of the company. Starting with menial tasks, he worked his way up to become a trusted mechanic. Sakakibara taught him not only mechanical repairs, but also the business side of the company. Soichiro became familiar with a wide range of automobiles, including Lincolns, Mercedes-Daimlers, and various motorcycles. He poured all of his energy into expanding his knowledge and understanding of his craft, even as he was introduced to the world of motorsports. In 1923, Sakakibara and his workers, including Soichiro, began building racing cars. They built the Art Daimler, using a second-hand Daimler engine, and the Curtiss using another second-hand engine from an American Curtiss biplane. placed on the chassis of a Mitchell car. Curtis raced in the 5th Japanese Motor Car Championship in 1924, taking first place with Sakakibara's brother as the driver and Soichiro as the accompanying engineer. This was a special experience for the 17-year-old boy, and from then on, motorsports became his passion. Soichiro was drafted for military service in 1926 but was excused from the army as he was found to be colorblind during his medical examination, allowing him to continue working at Art Shokai. Japan joined the Pacific War in 1941, and the following year, Soichiro's company was placed under the direct command and control of the Ministry of Munitions. Toyota took over 45% of the company's equity, and Soichiro was downgraded from president due to the position of senior managing director. As many male employees resigned due to being drafted from military service, his company began to struggle. Soichiro did everything he could to keep his company afloat, but he wasn't prepared for what he was to come. In 1944, air raid sirens intensified in Japan, and it became apparent that the country was headed towards defeat. Hamamatsu was in great danger, and Soichiro's company was hit by a direct bomb blast, destroying the factory. The company suffered a second misfortune in January 1945, when the Nankai earthquake shook the region and the Iwanta plant collapsed. Japan eventually surrendered in August 1945, but by then, Soichiro had nearly lost everything. After the war, Soichiro decided to sell what was left of his company to Toyota for 450,000 yen and publicly announced that he would take some time off to figure out the future as Japan was left in ruins. A year after the war, the country experienced an economic meltdown that threatened the lives of its citizens. There was a shortage of food, clothing, and shelter, and resources were rationed. As a result, Shoichiro couldn't even find enough gas to drive his car to the market and buy food for his family. One day, Soichiro came across a generator engine that belonged to the Japanese Imperial Army, which was used during the war to power up a wireless radio. He was fascinated with the engine, and after figuring out how it worked, a bright idea came to him. What would happen if he attached his engine to a bicycle? By no means was this a new invention, as the practice of clipping a motor onto a bike was common in Europe, and a few of these had even made their own way to Japan. But Soichiro knew the country was in desperate need of cheap transportation. In 1946, Soichiro used his old warehouse to establish the Honda Technical Research Institute for the sole purpose of figuring out a way to make motorbikes. There, he and a staff of 12 men followed through with his idea and successfully managed to put together a motorbike using some engines he found. Along with other spare parts, these new bicycles instantly became a hit, and orders began to come in from different parts of the country. Soon enough, Soichiro was running out of used engines, so he decided to design and develop one of his own. In 1948, Soichiro founded the Honda Motor Company with the initial goal of building motorcycles to help get Japanese workers around. The only problem was that he needed more money to expand his production, so he wrote an open letter to all 18,000 bicycle shop owners in Japan, telling them that he had thought of a solution to get Japan moving again. Out of the 18,000 stores, he received positive responses from 3,000 of them, and they provided him with the money he needed to start making his first shipments. A year later, the company produced its very first complete motorcycle, the Model D. Even though the Model D was a big achievement for Honda, it was too big and heavy, and because of this, only a few people bought the motorcycle. Soichiro wasn't satisfied with this, so he stripped down the motorbike and worked long hours to make another bike that was smaller and lighter. After 3 years of trial and error, he succeeded in building another motorcycle and named it the Super Cub. The Super Cub was an instant hit and became so successful that it won the Emperor's Prize. Honda also joined efforts with investor Takiyo Fujisawa, who provided the capital he needed, as well as financial and marketing strategies. This partnership became the foundation upon which the Honda Motor Company was built. The Super Cub reached the United States in 1958 with a sticker price of just $295, which was a quarter of the price of what other American motorcycles cost. Thanks to the company's marketing and engineering skills, it soon outsold both Triumph and Harley-Davidson in their respective home markets. By 1960s, Honda had become the biggest motorcycle company in the world. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure to like and subscribe for more interesting and helpful contents. See you next time.